Do you remember that day back in late 2021? For a ton of us, it was the day the internet just sort of broke, you know? It felt completely random, chaotic, and it turned out to be incredibly expensive. But what if it wasn't random? What if you could have actually seen it coming? Okay, let's get into it. I mean, we are talking about a huge financial hit, $2.5 billion. And that's not just some abstract number, right? That's real businesses losing sales, supply chains grinding to a halt, just a massive blow to the economy, all because one little piece of the internet went dark for just a few hours.
And this wasn't some far-off corporate problem either. No, this hit us right where we live. Your Ring doorbell, suddenly it's just a brick. You couldn't pay your friend back on Venmo. Your work chats on Slack just stopped. Even your kid's Fortnite game just blinked out of existence. It was a crazy reminder of how much we lean on these services without even thinking about it.
But that brings us to the really big question, the one that could change, well, everything. What if all that chaos wasn't something you just had to endure? What if you could actually predict the next big outage, see exactly who would be affected, and know which services were going to fail before it even happened?
Well, it turns out that massive, widespread failure wasn't random at all, not even close. It all came from one single critical choke point, one specific location in Northern Virginia that holds a frankly terrifying amount of power over the entire global internet. To really get why, you've got to understand Amazon Web Services, or AWS. They control about 31% of the whole global cloud market. Think about that. Nearly a third of the internet's backbone is running on their stuff. So yeah, when AWS has a bad day, pretty much everyone has a bad day.
And here it is, the epicenter of the whole problem. AWS's very first and oldest data center region known as US East 1. Because it was the default option for so long, thousands and thousands of companies built their entire businesses there, basically creating this massive, hidden time bomb for the whole web. And this is where it gets really, really alarming. We all think of our favorite apps and services as being global, right? Spread out, resilient. But the truth is, a lot of them are just part of this giant geographic house of cards, all teetering on that one single spot in Virginia. Let's just take Epic Games, the company behind Fortnite. They have over 650 million registered users all over the planet. You'd assume their infrastructure would be just as global and spread out. You'd think that, right? Well, have a look at this. This is just wild. It literally doesn't matter if you're a gamer in London or Tokyo or Sydney, your game traffic is being sent all the way back to data centers in Northern Virginia. 100%. Their entire global user base depends on one single AWS region. So what this really means is that what looks like this super robust worldwide service is actually incredibly fragile. When US East 1 goes down, Epic Games goes down for everyone, everywhere. It's a total global outage waiting to happen. But here's the fascinating part. Not every company went dark that day. Some were completely fine, totally unaffected. And this wasn't luck. It all came down to design. It's really a tale of two different ways to build for the cloud, one that's designed to survive and one that's just a sitting duck. And we can actually see this difference plain as day. By mapping out all these hidden connections, an analysis from Whisper shows us there are basically 3 different categories of risk. It separates the companies that were built to fail from the ones that were built to survive. Okay, so first up, you have the critical risk group. These guys were 100% exposed. We already talked about Epic Games, but there's also Twilio. Their failure meant people couldn't log in to over 335,000 other companies, and Ring, which left millions of homes with a giant security blind spot. Not good. All right, then you've got the middle ground, the moderate risk folks. These companies had a better setup, but they still had these hidden weak spots. Stripe, for instance, saw payments failing for users in LA and Brazil. Netflix users in those same areas, their streaming quality went way down. So they were partially resilient, but not all the way. And finally, we get to the survivors, the truly resilient ones. Slack was completely fine because they spread their service across 8 different AWS regions with zero reliance on US East 1. GitHub didn't even blink because they run on a competitor, Microsoft Azure. And Coinbase stayed up by using Cloudflare's massive global network. See, they made smart choices that made them immune. Okay, so this has to make you wonder, right? How is it even possible to know all this stuff ahead of time? How can you actually see these invisible connections that, let's be honest, even the companies themselves might not fully understand? Well, it really boils down to this pretty cool three-layer analysis. First, you look at the DNS layer, that's the internet's address book, to see who's directing traffic. Second, you map out the compute layer to find out where the servers actually are. And third, you analyze the CDN, or content delivery network, to see how stuff is getting to you, the user. And when you put all that data together, you get this incredible map, an infrastructure dependency graphs. It takes all those messy, hidden connections and just makes them visible. You can literally see the single points of failure. You can trace how services like Epic, Twilio, and Ring all lead right back to that one critical place, AWS US East 1. And that's the real game changer here. This ability to see what's normally invisible, it's what moves a company from complete and utter chaos during an outage to a place of control. It's all about going from just reacting to being truly predictive. The impact is, well, tangible. And believe me, the difference is night and day. Without this kind of intel, it can take a team 45 minutes, maybe more, of just frantic scrambling to figure out what's going on. With it, you know the entire blast radius in under 2 minutes. You go from reacting to angry customer emails to proactively telling them what's up before they even notice. And get this isn't just some nice-to-have best practice anymore. Nope, it's actually becoming law. The European Union's new DORA regulation, that's the Digital Operational Resilience Act, it now legally requires financial companies to map these exact kinds of dependencies. The stakes just got a whole lot higher. So we kind of end up right where we started. The fragility of the internet. This crazy concentration of risk in places like US East 1, that's a known problem now. The real question is, for every company out there that relies on it, is your own fragility a solvable problem? Because with the ability to finally see these hidden risks, the answer, maybe for the very first time, is yes.